So yesterday, pardon? Yeah, so yesterday explained the anomaly that why is that Ois Aleph is Nimshach in Ois Vav. Yet Aleph is Ascholas, right? Is Pnimis HaChachma. And Ois Ches is Chitzonis HaChachma. So how is it at the lower level, Ois Ches Chitzonis HaChachma, there's a complete radical transformation from the Ches to the Ayin. Whereas in void, in the word void, whereas Vav is merely, as explained in the Kri and the Ksiv, Vav is merely the Amshocha of Aleph. So the higher level is drawn down. The lower level has to go through a radical change to be Nimshach and Biyah. The answer was that's the whole Gufa. Because the higher level is the Pnimius and the Tachlis HaKavona, so it's Nimshach even in Biyah. So the Aleph is Nimshach in void, in Biyah. Whereas Ches, which he explains, is already Chachma Hagluya. Chachma Hagluya is Takanot and has to go through a radical, doesn't use these words at all in the Maimon, but it means this, the Tzimtzum, and a radical transformation from Ches to Ayin. Did we do Dalet? We didn't. So now he's finally addressing the final letter. V'hinei, the second last, or the last paragraph of his verse. So this is the final letter, the Dalet of Void, in this explanation of the two Maimorim, really. Of the Rosh Hashanah and the Sukkot, which is being masbir, Makesel Yom Chagenu, the Aleph, Ches Dalet, Aleph Rosh Tevis Echad, that is the Memutze between Yochid and Void, that is Nizgala now in Chag HaSukkos. So what's the Dalet? V'hinei Dalet, the Echad, Einim Eschala B'Tevis Void. The Dalet does not go through any change at all, like the other two letters of Ayin and Ches, which become Vav and Ayin. Aleph and Ches become, Dalet becomes Vav, and the Ches becomes Ayin. Elish B'Tevis Echad, the difference is, however, in the Dalet, that in Echad, which is B'chinas HaTzilus with Dalet Rabsi, it's a enlarged Dalet, and here enlarged means like Arichanpin, it means great Giloi. B'Tevis Void, but in the word Void, Biyah Hu Dalet Stam, it's an ordinary, as it were, Dalet. And the reason, he said earlier that Dalet refers to Malchus, right? Dalet is Rosh Tevis Dibur, which is Malchus. It's one of the connections, and others as well. The Yud, the shape of the Dalet, as explained in the Basti Lagani Maimarim, right? So therefore, B'chinas Malchus Eshna Keichei Savos. Malchus is the final attribute, but in Malchus Dafka is the word of Hashem, which brings existence into being. So therein is invested the Keichei Savos. Only Atzmus, the Eibush himself, can create Yesh Ma'ayin. As he goes on to say now from Tanya, quote, Shula Vadi B'Keichei V'Yecholti Lahavis Ma'ayin Liyesh, only he alone can create from absolute nothingness and bring into existence. Only Hashem can do that, because Atzmos has no cause, God forbid, that he is the result of. Atzmos means, that's what the word Atzim means. Atzim means, it's a relative term, it just means essence, but it means when you strip back the layers of whatever we speak of, such that any layer after this, nothing exists. This is its essence. So to create Yesh Miyayin, it requires a direct investure of the Eibush himself to create something out of nothing, and this is explained at length. In Chassidus, we've talked about it at length also. Why Oyer, no matter what level, cannot create Yesh Miyayin. It's got to be Mekeich HaAtzmos.
This is going both Dalits over the Dalits?
So both Dalits. So why is one larger, one smaller?
Even in the Torah, the Dalit is bigger, but Shema.
Yeah. In the Tefillin, in the Torah, in the Mezuzah, the Dalit is bigger. So the Amit is Bechina Zu. So where do you actually see creation carried out? Mizgal Bechinas Void. It's Dafke in Void. Shini Yisavas Bepoil. Bodo Shem Kvid Machuse Oilam Void. It's in Void where the actual Yisavas takes place. So therefore, the Dalit remains the same Dalit as Echad. In other words, it's Malchus Datzilus as Malchus Datzilus actually creates. Dalit is Malchus Datzilus as it is bound up in Atzilus, united with the Sfiris above it. And the Dalit Avad is the very same Atzmiz Dikekoyach, but now actually creating Bia, hence it's the same letter.
Why is one Rabbi and one not?
Because Rabbi means big, means there's a great Gilui there. A great Gilui in Atzilus as Malchus is bottled to the Sfiris to Zot, to the Sfiris above it, so it's large. Large not in the sense of Metzias, the opposite, large in the sense of Gilui. It's very reflective, as it were, in a revealed and transparent way of the Sfiris above it. But the Dalit, the Void, is already, with the Koyach Ayisavos is in the expressed, but the result of that is a nivra that doesn't feel its source. So the Koyach Ayisavos is concealed. So it's a small Dalit. So that the creation doesn't feel it's coming into being out of nothingness. But still, the Atzmos Dikekoyach Ayisavos is still the same. Malchus Yisborech, which is rooted in Atzmos. So B'kitzur, the big Dalit is Malchus as is Atzilus. The small Dalit is Malchus as it creates Lepoel Mamash creation. Yeah? So we have now further insight in what we explained earlier in the Rosh Hashanah Maamar, which addressed the question that the Pasuk Shema Yisrael Osim v'Chesim Psukim Malchus. That Shema Yisrael is the final Pasuk. There's actually a day in the Gemara, Rabbi Yossi, who says Shema Yisrael is not part of Malchus because there's no actual reference to Malchus. The answer to the Maimah was that what the pnimius of the Machlekes is that he's saying Shema Yisrael is Yichud Yilah, and the whole avodah of Kabbalah Samalchus is Yichud Tatos. We, the Tachten, are accepting Hashem as King from our standpoint, from our reality. So it's all about Yichud Tato, not Shema Yisrael. The answer is yes, but the Kavani Yichud Tato is that in Yichud us we should declare and recognize Yichud Yilah. So Shema Yisrael is the conclusion. And having said what we had said now, we have further beer. Dafke Shema Yisrael Yichud Yilah. So Take Shema Yisrael Yichud Yilah. But how the Kavani Yichud Yilah, he sheyimshach Yichud Tato. The whole point is that's the whole mamutza of Echad. That we, again, that our starting point is the self. And the best we can arrive at in terms of our reality is that there is a God that creates me, so that's Bittul Hayesh, Yichud Tato. Nonetheless, we should know the truth of Yichud Yilah and reveal that Lamata. Reveal God's truth in our reality. So therefore, the conclusion is Dafke Shema Yisrael. That Echad be drawn into Voed. Because the holding of Echad, as we explained at length in on these Maimodim, is the Mamutza that unites Elikus and creation and Welt. Ubefrat, as we explained, Boisius Aleph V'Dalid, we see this in the letters Aleph and Dalid, the fact that it's a memutza, that the whole kavanah is to fuse Elyon and Tachten, we see that the Aleph and Dalid don't really change. The Aleph becomes is Nimshach and the Vav, and the Dalid the same Dalid. Elahim Atzmam Nimshach and Bibiyah, because that's the kavanah. The kavanah is that the truth of Yichud Yilah should Veid yichud tata. And notwithstanding the fact that we are created and locked into Metzias, the Metzias itself declares he's not a Metzias. The only truth is the Eibishter. So that's expressed transparently in the first and last letter of Echad, of Void. A void, that the Chiddush is the void, that the Aleph of void and the Dalet of void is the very Yichud Yilo as it's nimshach in Yichud Tata.
No Aleph on void, only changing.
Basically said that the Vav is the Aleph being drawn down. It's not in another letter, it's Hamshacha. Pashut in Hebrew grammar and language, the letter Vav just means and. It means and. So we say and means connecting two things. We're bringing this here. It's not adding anything to the substance of the letter, of the word rather. It's a connective letter. And it's shaped like a hook. And the word vav means that. It means actually a hook. The vav in the Mishkan were called, they were hooks. The function of a hook is just to connect. It's not Metzias himself, it's to connect the upper and the lower. So the Vav is Mamshich the Aleph. Let's conclude the mind. So the whole point is that what? That Kesa is Kes Aleph, that the Aleph is concealed. This is all withdrawn. The Memutza, the Eibishter, the whole Memutza means the Kavanah. The Kavanah of the Gilui, Lalikus Lamata, the whole Kavanah of creation, the Eibishter withdraws within himself that we should be Mamshechet anew. Sha'alef, Shu'ascholas Memutza, the Aleph, which is, that's why it's Kesser with an Aleph, because it alludes to the Aleph of Echad. So each, and the rest of it too, Ches and Dalet, who Bekisser Vehelem. So Hashem has withdrawn it all. The Avoid, the Dikya Shaifer, and through the Avoid of Shaifer. But Maaseh, Dafka, as we explained in the previous Maamar, it's got to be Dafka in action because we've got to bring it down here. Nas is Aschola, Samshach, Asashon is the beginning of the Amshach. V'shoirish Amshach Mepinimis, Vatmas Insof, and the source is the very Pinimis. Yachach B'Yom Kippurim. So Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the drawing down. What's Yom Kippur? Nimshach ha'olam mata b'pnimius. Yom Kippur it's drawn in the pnimius. Aval gam hu behelim adnai, but still not revealed. Aschol is hagili in the beginning of the revelation of Hashem's new investure, his pnimis dike investure, his tainug and so on. It begins with Chag HaSukkos. Kidu as it's known, Shenanakter is nimshach begili b'schach HaSukkah, that the cloud of the Ketores, which is the Ikar Avodah Yom Kippur, is then transmutes into the Schach of the Sukkah. And that's also the yin of the Dalet Minim. The point of the Dalet Minim, which we make the Bracha Dafka in the Sukkah. To draw down Das, and Das is expresses the Pnimius, it's the middle, the Pnimius HaKavana. The word Das means connection. Hashem's desire for a connection in the Lamata. So where we're drawing it, we bring it to the heart. The Dalet Minim is from, it goes away from the heart to all of the six directions. What's that? So it says in Kabbalah, it says, little translation, it's Nukva, which is Malchus, which stands literally in the chest, the breast of Zah. In other words, the pnimius of the person. All the way down to permeating all of the midas, down to Maaseh b'Peil, complete suffusion. Like it says in the Sefer Mishra Chassidim, Chassidus often quotes, the Kabbalah Sefer from the Rikanti, the author. And we're drawing it down all the way down to Malchus. That's Dalet Minim. Okay, it's Kabbalah words, but the bottom line is the Hamshach all the way down Lamata. Mitzad Hamshach, Shemshech has been Tiras Dalet Minim, and from the drawing down in an internalized way, it's effective by the Dalet Minim. The consequence of that is Nasa Ged La Simcha, the Simchas Beis HaShe'eva. This engenders the great simcha, which is gilui of simchas beis yeshiva, unparalleled simcha. And how was the simchas with the Maimon began? They juggled torches of fire. And what's the idea of a torch of fire? Shemeid, I mentioned this earlier. I'll take you. It's not just light, but it's the essence. It's a powerful light. Huh?
It's too hot, so you don't hold it the whole time. That's what it is. That's why you're juggling it.
No, the fire's at the top. It's a cone. But the torch he wants to bring out. He wants to bring out that it's not just fire, but it's intense. It's the torch, which is, you're right, too hot to touch itself. So it reflects the oil as it is, lifnei atzimtzum. In other words, completely uncompromised. Gilul alikus. When he asked the question, why was it the Gemara mentions that they juggled either 4 or 8? What's the significance of these numbers? This question was asked at the beginning of the Maimon. The answer is because it's being nimshich in the 4 letters of Hashem's name, which is Ishtalshalus. And what's the 8? Shmei Navuk is made al chespa mimavaya shalmayli mishtalshalus. 8 in general is beyond Ishtalshalus. 8 times Havaya, higher than Ishtalshalus. Point being, we're drawing into existence, creation, that which is beyond creation. Or another meaning of the number 8. Chachma starts with the ches, as we said before. So the 8 torches refer to the Chachma, and even higher than Chachma itself, Itzos, Al-B'chinas Mazel Hashmini, the 8th, Mazel means source. The 8th source, which is the word Noitzer, in the Yigim Midas HaRachamim, K'meshe Yizboy, K'meshe Kosev, Yizboy, V'hemshech V'kocha, like the Marash explains, V'hemshech V'kocha, explaining the 8th Midah of the Yigim Midas HaRachamim, Mazel Hashmini, higher than Ishtalshalus. Okay, we're getting the general idea. Calls the nimshach de simcha sarikot b'maisa dafke, and all this is drawn down through dancing, dafke through physical dancing. And this is the meaning of the pious ones, and the men of good deeds would dance. And he asked it, why is it in one Inyan? The Maimon asked before that they danced and they juggled. And the Mishnah describes it, should be a dance. So they danced and juggled. And the shaila is, it's 2 separate talents. You would have expected the Mishnah to have said they danced and they juggled. It sounds like it's one inyan, the dancing and the juggling. And then the Chassidim ואנשי מעשה. So now we're having the beer. Why the Mishnah describes it as one thing, and that is the Chassidim ואנשי מעשה who inyan oiris v'kelim. Chassid is oir and אנשי מעשה is keli. The Pirish Chassidim who Rashi explains in the Mishnah, which Kosev Rashi Chassid meikara, he never sinned and remained always pious. That's the Chassidim. That's oir. Einishim lachatchila in bayeshis and metzias klal. At the outset, there's no yeshus, it's pure oil, pure gilul likus. V'huing in bitl oiris, a chassid goes on bitl oiris, a chassid is bottle. Well, should be bottle. If he's a chassid, he's bottle. He's a reflection of the truth, not a metzias. That's yichud yilah, that's chassidim. Vaanshim ba'yisu in yichud tato, men of action, the focus is here the mata. That's yichud tato. So it's the fusion of Chassidim and Anshi Maaseh. It's the whole hemshech of V'kesel Yem Chagenu. To be mamshech alikus in the world, that the world itself should declare the truth, exclusivity of alikus. And that's reflected in the Chassidim and the Anshi Maaseh. L'mayli yois and higher still o'ingin yichud tato k'fishu batzilus. We're talking about this unity at the loftiest levels. It happens. Shingin hakelim. Then we're not talking about real yeshus, but kelim. They still, there's some aspect of dimension of gvul, kelim. Shem b'chinas mitzias davar mar, relative to the oid and atzilus, they're also mitzias. But, so that's the Anshi Maaseh on a higher level even. Kelim datzilus. At a more basic level, it refers to be us. But at a higher level, this yichud happens on every level. But the whole simcha pearls that their whole existence is nullified. Like we said before, in the Rosh Hashanah Maimon Minyan, Haforas HaNeder L'Achrei Sheyochel, that the neder becomes completely nullified once it's brought into existence simultaneously. Remember, he makes a neder. When I make a neder, it's mufer. It becomes nullified. It becomes, what's the word? A neder becomes nullified. So it's the point is that the neder itself summons its own nullification. The whole identity of the neder is that it becomes nullified. So there's Welt, but the whole meaning of Welt is its whole kavan is to say that I'm not a Mitzias. Who says I'm not a Mitzias? Mitzias says I'm not a Mitzias. That's a Chassidim and Anshi Maaseh. Mitzad Abshochas, ha'oid b'chinas avuka. So here, what are they? They're dancing, they're juggling. The avuka, the torch, not simply a flame, a light, but a torch, an intense, the pnimis ha'oid, she'osh l'maylim mishtalshalus, she'nimshich behem. So because they are drawing down this tremendous giloi, ha'yismeichim v'maraktim. So this caused the joy and the dancing. If you Chassidim ואנשי Maaseh b'chinas oides v'kelim datzilus. So the keli is the meraktim. That's why that answers why the Mishnah separates the two. The torch is the gili oir, and the dancing is the keli. It's the yichud of the oir and the keli. So the Mishnah identifies them as two things and now becoming one. That's why the Mishnah describes them as one thing. They were dancing with torches of fire. It's two separate talents. To dance is one thing, and to juggle is another thing. But no, the whole kavanah is b'keselim chagenu, the amshocha of hide and nishtalshalos, oiris and kelim, the avuka in the dancing. Hence, the Mishnah describes it as one thing. As he concludes, Chassidim ואנשי Maaseh b'chinas oiris v'kelim datzilus, v'chag ha'sukkos nimshich b'hem ba'oish l'maylim nishtalshalos. And because of Chag HaSukkos is nimshach the etzemoi, which is the torch, therefore the Chassidim and Anshi Maaseh, which is Yichud Yilo and Yichud Tato, unite and become one. Okay, we're going to give an overview of the Maamar, Be'ez Hashem, tomorrow. Huh? Yeah, I don't know why. I don't understand. There's not 1 second. Why there's a Maamar Cholamay took us very short. Second Maamar. I'm just long Fabrengen, which we heard the Nigan of yesterday, and then there's Shabbos Bereshis. They don't even have the Maamar of Shabbos Bereshis. And Yom Simchas Torah, 1 second. And plus Yom Simchas Torah was no Maamar. Maamar, Imashmin Atzeres Tiyalachem. Maybe I missed it. It's not here. And unfortunately, it was not. Never said a Maamar that it was not transmitted.
Is it looking in the index?
Yeah, it's not there. Not there. There are such Maimorim that whatever the reason, the Chassidim didn't have their act together and did not Chaz the Maamar. So just briefly now, let's continue the story of Simchas Torah Tavshel and Zayin.
Define Chassidim.
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 The Chassidim, the fellows that have to review
Oh, the Chaz. Okay, the one.
Yeah,
with Chaz.
repeat the Maimer.
Shkoyach.